Hey everybody, JC coming back at you live from the 2024 RELA Asset Protection Conference, the partnership with the National District Attorneys Association and the Coalition on Law Enforcement and Retail. Hey, this interview is being brought to you by Insights LPR. Thanks for their sponsorship. Make sure you go and check out their booth down here. Hey, they have great solutions for you investigators, so make sure that happens for us. Hey, I got the distinct pleasure of being back with this gentleman right here who has, as of July 2023,
yes,
helped stand up a new organized retail crime alliance. And I'm going to let you guys identify, ask questions, whatever, of me, but I want you all to introduce yourselves in just a second for me. Very interesting. We're talking to ORCs today about just how they've come about, what's going on in their organizations, and how they've grown. And here's an organization that was just stood up last July: Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, and I won't even say anything more than that, ORC Alliance, because that's a mouthful. Guys, first of all, congratulations on starting up a new organization, especially in those states that, my God, talk about rural, right? You've got a lot of rural areas, you got big cities, but you've got a lot of coverage there. So talk to me about what brought LAMA ORC Alliance to life.
All right. Well, my name's Chris Scotty. I'm the chairman of the Alliance. And basically, in late October of 2022, there was a meeting. There was some talk about ORC, maybe having an ORCA somewhere, maybe in the Louisiana area. That kind of carried over to a meeting that we had in January in Baton Rouge, where I was able to meet Jeremy Sheen, Barry Mintz, and Adam Parks. Barry's our vice chair, and both Jeremy and Adam are our executive board members that were very instrumental in setting this up. So in January, we kind of got together in a meeting. We talked about, said, hey, we need this. We saw that there was a need not only in Louisiana, but Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama. And in my vision, I was like, those are my states that I cover. So I'm like, why not just do one big alliance? We all touch borders, and let's do it.
Yeah, so, you want to talk about a challenge. I mean, bringing 4 states and the common and uncommon, retailers and law enforcement organizations and things like that, to be able to broadcast over that wide of a region. Let's talk about that a little bit. How has the interaction been between the retail and law enforcement across 4 states?
So right now, what we've had happen was, once we launched in New Orleans in July of 2023, we were set to have state meetings. So since then, we've had state meetings in every state. So now we're working on round 2, maybe round 3 in some states, and just getting the word out there.
Yeah.
But I'll turn it over to Barry in just a second. But all the work that goes into setting up one of these alliances, the partnership meetings from the retailers, from law enforcement, our state, our local, federal partners, has been instrumental in getting this kicked off. And there's someone else that was really a big inspiration and helping us. I'll let Barry kind of cover that real quick.
Sure, absolutely. Barry, talk to me. Talk to me about the values that you all are bringing to the table and the partnerships that you guys are stoking with this new organization.
Absolutely, and thanks for having us on today. I think it's very important to mention the initial partnership and initial sponsorship and support that we did receive from the Louisiana Retailers Association. They were instrumental and absolutely tremendously helpful in getting us backed and set up with the administration of the new organization. So I'm glad to call them out and thank them very much for their support that they gave us in those beginning days, especially since we launched in that 6-month kind of time period. Again, they followed us all the way through there along with our other partners and really saw it through to help us out.
Yep. So, coming together with a retailer association, as we are here, right? That retailer association can broadcast it and can get that word out, right? And bring people into the fold to help you all really drive this new component to these 4 states.
That's right. And also, you'll absolutely see that you can reach our website through their website as well. So we're kind of hosted off of their website as well. So if you go to the Louisiana Retailers Association website, you will find the LAMA ORC on there. It's clickable link. You can sign up and register and go through that process to gain access to the platform.
Right, and that's for both the retail investigator as well as law enforcement. Get involved in this new organization. From a law enforcement perspective, talk to me about that. Coming into the fold with these retail investigators, you work with them. You know, talk to us a little bit about your role as the law enforcement arm of this.
Sure. Well, again, thanks so much. We appreciate the opportunity to speak toward this. As Chris pointed out, we recognize that there was a need to really kind of have a more formal association or an organization that basically empowers that information sharing and kind of lets us look towards priority trends and concerns.
Sure.
And so the natural progression, right, was to develop this alliance to help us share that information as a formal information exchange process.
Right.
And then guys like Adam and myself on the law enforcement side are able to leverage that to drive information, to drive intelligence-driven leads toward law enforcement to be able to effectively work that. So what we've done is we've established ORC task forces in our respective states.
Yeah.
And now we're able to take the information, look, like everybody else, right? From the retail side to the law enforcement side to the prosecution side. Everybody's trying to do more with less.
Right.
So we need to be really strategic and really smart about how we tackle those threats and the problems. So the advantages of having an ORCA is it allows our folks that are registered through the LAMA process to develop, to actually nominate priority threat groups. Right. To show us who the most egregious violators are, to show us who the most violent offenders are, and then with our limited resources, we can really try to tackle with our state and local partners the most egregious offenders and make sure that we're really hitting home, getting bang for the buck on who we tackle on the investigations that we run. And Adam can kind of speak towards some of the effort that we've had and some of the trends that we're seeing now on again, the federal law enforcement working with state and local.
Right. You know, that information exchange is big, right? You never know where that criminal element is crossing, you know, virtual sectors within the various crime, you know, areas, right? And that information exchange, bringing all that information together where, hey, we may not have intelligence on this person for whatever crime, but all of a sudden he's popping up. And where'd this come from? You know, oh my God, this guy's got an association with that guy, etc. So that information exchange is big, right?
That's right. So we, you know, having the ORCA, you have to answer the question is, what does an ORCA do? And ultimately, it's about our actions. And so our actions with the ORCA are networking, of course. We exchange information, but we have to put that into operations. And so one of the things that we've done is we've organized those task forces, as Jeremy said, but then we take that information from our retail partners and then we can actually execute it into operations. So whether or not it's retailers nominating, you know, your high priority threat groups or joining forces in kind of a surge operation. We've done surge or blitzes around Christmas time. We did one in Baton Rouge called Operation Sleigh Ride. We've done two in New Orleans called Operation French Quarter, 1 and 2. And we continue to do that. And then as well as nominating big cases that our retailers come and say, hey, across the region, maybe even across the country, these are the threats we're seeing and we need law enforcement to help us out with this. And then we work together along the way to kind of disrupt and dismantle those networks.
Sure, and you know, the funny thing is we're talking about blitzes and working through blitzes and such, and I remember way back in the day when blitzes were just internal, right? They were just internal corporate. Now we're seeing blitz teams bringing in law enforcement, bringing in retailers from all different retail environments and actually coming together and actually effectively identifying threats to the business, maybe to the community as well. You know, there are threats when it comes to ORC to the community, the safety of the products, etc. So that's really big. But talk to me about those blitzes and how effective they've been.
So the blitz has actually been very effective, and probably the most operational kind of benefit has been the connections with our law enforcement. There's been certain cities where they didn't know that the federal government or even retailers were this kind of forward-leaning into the problem. So bringing everybody together around those kind of operations helps introduce people, build that comfort level with operating together, but then identify those targets, and then as we continue to work those investigations working together. And in fact, you know, the LAMA ORC is very proud that one of the biggest kind of national cases that we've got going on right now, something called Project Red Hook, which has received a lot of attention in the media, specifically gift card tampering, Asian organized crime, Chinese money laundering organizations. That started out of this LAMA ORCA, and we're talking about, you know, thousands of offenders, you know, millions and millions of dollars of loss And that's something that we continue to, next week we're having a big meeting in New Orleans with law enforcement and retail to kind of coordinate on one of those operations. So again, this ORCA, all ORCAs are important to network, but we're very much prioritizing the operational aspect of this ORCA, that it actually does something beyond just simply meeting.
Right, not just meeting once a year and saying, hey, how's everybody doing? Let's have a cup of coffee.
That's right.
You guys are affecting change. You guys are working together, multi-jurisdictional all the way up to the top, bringing in the private sector, working together and really driving results, and that's big. That's really big when it comes to ORC. So what you got?
Well, that's the whole purpose and the whole thing about this ORCA kind of movement, even around the whole country. And now we have one here. We filled in the blank on the map. And that's the whole important idea behind it, is that our whole purpose is to make sure that we can be the connective tissue to get one person who's looking for somebody either at an agency or at a retailer to the next right person at that agency or at that retailer to continue fostering the partnership between law enforcement and retail.
Well, and it brings a whole new level of partnership, too, because you are bringing in all those jurisdictions as well as the private sector. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, when you look at maybe a city department that's dealing with property crimes across the board, right, and there tends to, unfortunately, and maybe necessarily, be a very myopic view. The same can be said with certain retailers, right? It's just what's in front of you, what's the problem set, what can I deal with today? When you bring in an ORCA and you bring in kind of multi-regional, you bring in different departments, different agencies, you have the ability to step back, right? Get rid of that myopic perspective, really look at it. The only one that recognizes state borders, honestly, is the government.
Right.
Criminals have no problem crossing our state borders, right? They have no problem.
And actually,
they
like to do it.
Yeah,
they like to do it because it makes it that much more complicated, right?
Exactly it.
And that case gets handed off to a local guy who's a property crime investigator. He's got a stack, and it's like, well, yeah, he is doing it here, but it's not quite a felony here. And those criminals know that. They know what those laws allow and don't allow, and what those thresholds are, and they take advantage of that a lot of the time. So, yeah, that's really important. And really just to bring the teams together and say, look, we've got this going on, and sharing that information, like I said earlier, sometimes you may actually have other detectives or investigators at an organization say, wait a second, I know that guy, and this is what I know about him. So that's really big.
That is absolutely the intent of it. And then again, by having those task forces, a law enforcement task force to be able to follow up on that information exchange, and again, work across jurisdictions, work across borders, just absolutely enables and empowers us to kind of transcend those artificial borders.
Absolutely. Well, guys, hey, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on LAMA.
Thank you.
Standing that up. I look forward to seeing you guys at one of the next conferences to see how you guys have progressed over time. You're a fairly young organization. But, hey, head out to, what's the website again?
All right, that's going to be www.laretail.org/LAMA-ORCA.
There you go. Check it out. Get out there, register, get part of this become a part of this organization. That's huge. Help them thrive. That's really big as well. Seek out their resources. It sounds to me like you guys have got a lot going on right now, and you guys are picking up momentum real quick. So that's good. That's really good. All right, everybody. JC coming back at you live from the RELA 2024 Asset Protection Conference in partnership with the National District Attorneys Association and the Coalition of Law Enforcement and Retail. This session has been brought to you, this interview has been brought to you by Insights LPR. Please check them out. Please like, share, follow these interviews. We really appreciate that. Boost our promotion there on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Hey, I'm going to come back at you live with another great interview here shortly, so stay tuned.